Hi, welcome back to the second part of the fabric misting testing video. I'm going to start with this bandage padding. I don't know if you can call it that, but that was something that came up when I was looking for the correct name. So if it's not correct, I'm very sorry. It's not my language. So let's try and mist this. And I'm using the same colors like throughout all the videos that I've made so far. This is the Aquamarine. I'm going to start with that one and just add some color in there and then go over other areas with the second color, and then let's do some pink there too. And just a tad of blue to the corner here. So I think I could leave that to dry on its own. It goes really well into the fabric, so it absorbs it really nicely. It's not that shiny, but you have a lot of color in there. I don't know what happens when it's dry. We will see on the latest when it's all dry and I take some pictures of it and some photos. We will see if any shimmer and glimmer is in there. So it reacts really nicely to heating. It's not deforming itself, so that works really well. So you could add really nice bits to any kind of mixed media projects by misting this bandage fabric. And the colors look really nice there too, because the base was white, so white is always a good starting color, but you can also use darker ones, and it dries really fast. It looks really interesting. So that was that type of fabric. These are the flowers with the adhesive back. So I'm not going to heat these, I'm going to let these air dry. I think it's better for the flowers. So I think I want to have these yellow, gold and a little bit pink in there. So when you go and add the pink, I'm just spreading the color here. When you go and add the pink color in there, you can see just a little bit of heat. See how that goes. I said I'm not going to heat these, but well, I'm impatient, so let's try how that goes. Just a little bit and then let it air dry. That looks really nice. I really like these flowers. I hope they at some point these will be available again, because I don't know if they still have these on the market. These were really nice to use. And let's do a blue one. So there you can see the pattern really showing up. Can you see that? Lovely. And these are meant to be misted, so these work really nicely. There's no special trick to this. You just add the color in there and then let them dry, and then you're free to use them. You can do multiple colors or just one color, whatever you prefer. So that would be those. Then I've got this canvas piece that has a little bit pink in there already, so maybe we'll just go over it with a pink tone and some gold to this corner, and then heat it a little bit. And if my misting box gets really wet, then I'm going to add some paper towels underneath, so that the colors already on that have absorbed into this cardboard piece don't mess up with my misting colors. Like on this one, there's a little bit blue or whatever in there, but I don't mind. I can always ink that piece. But I've got some paper towels there to keep the fabrics protected, because they are going to soak in, absorb a lot of color also from the working surface. And this would be how that turned out. You can still see some pattern in there, better on the yellow one because it's lighter. We'll see how that turns out when it's totally dry. Then I've got some, I think this was organza, or I think this is organza ribbon. That should be easy to mist. So I'm making this, I'm adding several colors in here. Let's put some green, some blue, then some pink. See, and that's what happens if the surface gets really wet. The ribbon takes every single color that there is on the working surface. So you might need to put something in between. Or if you don't mind getting multiple colors or different shades there, then you can do it like this, but better to have a paper towel in between to protect, to keep the colors clean. So you can heat this ribbon too. See there, that's not that nice, but we're just testing, so you learn a lot from what not to do then when you're doing your ribbon misting and coloring. But I can still use this for something. Or cut off the pieces that I don't like that much. So let me show you here. You can do really nice shading there. There's some pink in there, there's some blue in there, so it really absorbs every single spot that's on the surface. So you need to be careful with the surface not being dirty. So it would have been better to use a paper towel underneath, but oh well. This is just for testing purposes. But you can make really nice ribbons like this. You can use one color or you can use several colors, whatever you prefer. So my next ribbon would be this synthetic one. I think this is a mixture with, I think those flowers are synthetic and the piece underneath is a mixture with cotton and something else in there. And let's just do a little bit, and this time I'm using the paper towel to keep the colors as clean as possible. Okay, this one at least at this point reacts a little bit to the fact that it's getting wet, so it's getting all bubbly and deforming itself, but we will see what happens when it's dry, or when it's totally dry. So you can actually either directly mist from the bottle onto the ribbon, or you take a paintbrush and dab the paintbrush into the bottle and take some color and add it to the ribbon. And I'm misting directly onto the ribbon. I'm not using water before adding the color. That might result in different kind of tones if you mix water with the ribbon before you add the color, so you will get a more watercolor look maybe. But when you heat it, it looks really nice. So it has its pattern and form again. It's not that. So it goes back to its original form. And when you're heating synthetic ribbons, you need to be careful because they tend to melt. So this one has a little bit cotton in there, so it's not reacting that bad too. But I'm not heating it that much because, you know, safety first, and need to be careful before everything. Not that something catches fire. So I'm just giving it a little bit heat to help it to dry, and then leave it to air dry. So that would be what this ribbon looks like when it's misted. I hope you can see that on the video. So we will be needing a lot of paper towel for this this video, but never mind. And then I've got some, I think this was the one with silk in there. At least it feels like it. And I'm just going to use one color for this one. So I'm just adding a little bit here and there. And actually could leave it like this, so I have like spots and dots in there. So it gets a more interesting look, or I could just, you know, add a lot of color in there and then get a even result. And this one doesn't need that much heating at all, so I'm actually going to leave it to air dry and take some photos when I'm done. So I'm going to leave it like this. Will be interesting. Give an interesting look for a card when you have this two tones going on there, white and the green one. And then the next one would be the lace. So let's do some green again, because this paper underneath is already green. And then this is a cotton one, so I can heat it without having to be afraid of it catching fire. Just make sure you keep your distance to the ribbon and not to heat it too long, because then you never know what might happen then. Maybe it still catches fire because it gets too hot. So this one is the cotton lace with the aquamarine tone on it, and it turns quite dark actually. Interesting. That's the color chart, and on fabric it's a little bit darker than I'd expect it to be, but that looks really nice. And then let's do a piece here. Let's add some pink there and heat it. Or I could just add some water and some Glimmer Mist into a glass and put the ribbon into the glass to make sure that it absorbs all the color and gets an even coverage. This way, when you're misting it, you have these color variations there. But when you like put it into a, I don't know, glass or anything, you can put some water or pure color in there. You can just damp it in there, and then it will be a much more even coverage when it's done. And interestingly, the back side of the ribbon is still almost white. So if you don't like it to be that dark, you could actually use this side too. But I like that one better. Then next we have the velvet ribbon. I'm quite interested to see how this reacts, because the velvet is really soft. I don't know how the glimmer will react with the velvet. Might be a little bit stiff when it's done. It gets really dark actually, so we'll see how that changes when it's dry, sorry. And then let's add some pink there, and that turns really dark too. We'll see how that goes. And I can actually turn that around and pick up the color from the paper towel, and that would be the pink part, and this was the green. So we'll leave that to dry, and we'll see how it looks like on the final picture then. And then I've got the See, that's the problem, because this is wet and then I've got all this color that is absorbing into the paper towel, so we'll need to change that again, or we use again pink and green on this one, which I just decided we'll just do that. So this one is the ribbon with some brown parts in there, or beige, and this one has linen in it, so it has a little bit different structure to it. And here I'm again just dabbing the ribbon into the paper towel to pick up all the color, because the paper towel is still wet. So you get a light tone, of course, because the beige tone is in there. That will turn out much darker naturally. And then we'll see what happens with the pink one. And here I'm also picking up the color from the paper towel. Seems to work really well. So misting ribbons is a little bit tricky. You just need to improvise to get the results you want to have, but it turns out really nice, kind of like that. So we'll see what that looks like when it's all dry. But it went all through the ribbon, also onto the other side. That will look really interesting. Really like that already. And next I have this piece of printed canvas. So there's a printed pattern in there, which will show when it's dry, because Glimmer Mist is translucent. So all the patterns you have on the surface you're misting will show up eventually. This turns out really nice, so you can use these kind of pieces on your scrapbook layouts, artist trading cards, junk journals, whatever you're making. Will add an interesting detail to your work. And then next, let's take this flower. I think we'll take another one. And I'm always keeping these, because you can take bits and pieces from these paper towels for any project later, because they have a lot of color in there. It would be a pity to throw them away. And this one will get some gold on it. Just a nice shade. And it gets these gatherings there because it's not even, the surface is not quite even, so some of the glimmer gathers into the deeper areas. And then I'm just going to heat it a little bit to see what happens then. And I'm looking forward to see some glimmer also on this one, and it seems like there is going to be some in there, but we'll see how that reacts when it's dry, if it's going to color my fingers and come off. Really don't know. Might be I just need to find a clean finger to test this, because this is such a light color. Don't want to ruin my beautiful golden flower now. And there is some shimmer in there. I don't know if you can see that on the video. And if I rub it with my finger, it stays there. It doesn't come off. So you can definitely do fabric flowers. This is a Hattie Swap one from a few years back. And it has a really nice color. You cannot see it here, but it turned out really nice golden. If you put it against the white paper, then you will see it much better. And then I had this fun piece here with a button on top, and I need to take this clear piece with me because this has an adhesive on the back, so I will have to mist it this way. I think I'm going to make this green. So it just needs just a little bit color, not much at all. So I picked up I cleaned the button with this paper towel so that it doesn't get any color in there. So you can see that turned out really nice. So you could make your own embellishments like this from fabric and add buttons on top and then give them some color, and wow, this turned out really pretty. Really like this one. And I'm just going to dab the residue color into this paper towel and leave that to air dry. And then next I've got this canvas here. It's a 3 by 3 inch canvas from the Canvas Corporation's online store. And this is a natural canvas without any gesso on it. And I like the fact that they are like this. Some of them are like this, some aren't. Because when you add the color, it will really stick into the surface. And I think I'm going to do this in two tones. I'm going to do some green and then add some yellow in there. Sorry, gold. It's not yellow, it's gold. So let's make an ombre looking canvas background for this one. And I need to do these later, the sides, but I'm just going to do the surface for now and then take a paintbrush later and add some color here. But so that you see how this turns out. It gets really interesting, and then you could add some gesso in there, then you could add another color, then you could add texture paste, rub-ons, whatever you like, and create a really nice small canvas piece. This turned out really lovely. Let's take some burlap. Now this should be really easy and fun to do. Let's take the yellow one and add some green on it, see how that reacts. And then let's take the neutral one, add some blue. So these are really easy to alter and add color to. Works really nicely, and all these areas you can just go over with your finger or add some more color on top, different shades. So that's my misted canvas. So if you add green on yellow, that will also turn out really nice. So you can alter. If you buy just one color of the burlap, like white one, then you can alter it with the Glimmer Mists and use for your projects. And you always have the matching shade because you have the spray colors to alter it. Just leave those to dry. And then take the rickrack ribbon, and this one I'll just, add some blue on it. Let's take this corner here because it's already blue. My bottle's getting a little bit empty already, but it's still going, so this gets a really nice shade. That's going to be lovely when it's dry. So that's the misted rickrack cotton ribbon, and I'll leave that to dry, air dry, and then when it's all dry I'll take some pictures and you will see those at the end of this video. And then let's do the twine. This is a grey and white one, and I'm just going to add some blue in there. maybe turn it around just for a fun detail, and add some pink on the other side, and we'll see how that goes, if they mix together or whatever happens with that. And then just dabbing it into the surface to get some more color off. So that's actually, that has parts of it is pink, part of this is a blue tone, and look at my fingers. That's something you're not going to be able to avoid, so that will happen. If you don't like to get your fingers this dirty, you will need to use rubber gloves. That works really well too, but I don't like to use those, so just have to live with that. The results, what happen. Let's do a golden silk flower. So that's easy to do, you just add the color, let it air dry. The fabric absorbs the color really nicely, and if I would like to, I could even dry that a little bit, and then I could add some shading in there with the pink color. So I'll just take this part and let's make that pink. If I don't like the result, I can always go over it with the pink tone, so I will have a pink flower in the end. But I think that turned out really nice. So here is my golden flower with some pink details in there. So you can alter all fabric flowers. You just need to try if it works, but that is a synthetic material and it works really well, and it also works on cotton flowers and burlap flowers and all types I've tried. It was never a problem. That is the knitting wool piece, and I've already used this type of material on a mixed media project previously, so I know that this works really nicely. You just need to add color to all areas, and what you can also do is, you will get your fingers dirty if you do it like this. Just roll it in your fingers so the color will go in every single area of the material for an even coverage, but then you will have dirty fingers, and maybe you want to take your rings off or you need to clean them later, but I don't mind, so it's okay. And I've got this really nice shade of green on my knitting wool material. Then next I have this green flower, and I'll just add some golds on top, so the white areas will turn a little bit more golden, and it actually also should have some glimmer on it when it's dry. It will be interesting to see if it sticks to the fabric or if it comes off if I touch it, but we will see that when it's totally dry. I just cannot say it at the moment. So basically just add a little bit shading to the materials or colors you already have if you want it a little bit different. So it's a more yellow gold toned green now than it was previously. This will need to dry to be able to see if there is any glimmer in there. Then I've got the felt piece and the felt rabbit. I think I'm going to add some green onto the rabbit. Should go in to the material really well. And it did. So this is my felt die cut rabbit, and I will need to treat all these areas if I want to use it on something, but as you can see, misting is no problem here. and then coloring some felt. So I could, if I don't want to use a yellow one, I can always alter it, add some other colors in there. Of course, blue and yellow will get an interesting result, but for whatever purpose you're going to use it, you can add some shading. And if it's a white color to start with, then it will be a totally different result. And what you can see here is it gets interesting looking surface structure. It has all these dots and blots and splatters in there, which in its way might be also an interesting detail on a project. So I'll leave that to dry, and then we will see how it turned out when it's completely dry. And then next, what could we take? Oh, I love seam binding, but this is not going to work. This is too wet already. So let's take a second piece of paper towel and then just take a little bit of seam binding. Don't want to use the whole bundle. Just cut a little piece so I can show you what it looks like. I love seam binding and I love misting it. It gets such nice results. So that would be blue. Isn't that pretty? Just look at that. Just do this part there. I could even go over with my spray pump piece and add some color directly onto the ribbon. And this is how it looks like. That's lovely. That's going to look really pretty when it's all dry. And you can wrinkle it a little bit with your fingers to make it look more artsy, and then leave it to dry, and then you will have all these details and wrinkles in there, and it will be ready to use as it is. Then I've got this cord of, I don't know, I think this was hemp cord. Let's go with the blue because it's a darker color. You can also add shading to this. Doesn't go into the material that well, but you get a shade in there. So this is the untreated part, and this would be the one that I've treated with the Icicle Blue. And it absorbs some of the color, and you get like strips in there. So some parts absorb the color better than the other ones. Might be also interesting. Maybe not this color, but if you would go over it with some brown tones, would look really cool. Then I've got the cotton rope, which also should work. And this one, since it's white, takes the color much better. So, and if I roll it here on my surface, the color will go to all areas much better. It will not be that shiny, but you will get a shade. Or just soak it into the, if you want a really thick coverage, you just put that in there and let the color soak into the cord. And here you can see it really went everywhere. So maybe it would be easier to just, you know, put this into some kind of jar and then add a little layer of the color in there and go over a few types of cord, just put it in there, let it swim in the color, and then take it off and let it dry. Gives you a much better result than just misting it directly. And what do we have here. Let's take the flowers and let's do some lovely bright colors. So I've got the gold here. Want to add some gold to these flowers. Would be nice on a spring project. And again, turns out really nice. You get a nice shade in there. If you can see it here, looks lovely. I'm just being careful because my fingers are all blue already. And then we have some of this ribbon. This is, I think this is a linen cotton mixture, and I'm going to add some, let's do gold. I think gold would look lovely on this one. Yes, and it does. Looks really nice. And there's even some glimmer on the surface to be seen immediately. There's a little bit adhesive tape on there, so that part resisted, of course, the color, but never mind, I can just use a little bit of this one. So that would be the unmisted and the misted part. Looks really nice. And then we have the tulle. I wanted to do the tulle, just wanted to show you that this looks really lovely. So you basically need to buy only white tulle and give it a quick mist, and you will have, in the end, you will have icicle blue tulle with some glitter bits in there. That looks absolutely gorgeous. Imagine you make some tulle flowers from this. This will look so pretty. Then we have this cotton flag, and I think I'm going to make it pink. Since it's cotton, it's just you spray it on, it absorbs to the fabric, and you get a really nice even coverage. So that is no problem at all. And then I'm really interested to see what happens with this leather piece. This is just a fun experiment. I haven't used any spray inks on leather, but might look interesting. So let's add some pink there, and let's do some blue on the other side, so it just gets a really nice shade. And look at that glimmer soak and absorb into the fabric, into the material, so you get a really shiny leather surface there. Might also be interesting to try out, and you've got all that glitter in there. Look, that's pretty. We'll see how that reacts when it's dry, if it comes off or if it stays there. I don't know if you can heat it, never have tried it before, but just carefully, just a little bit to see what happens. So darker colors seem to work in a way that you get the glimmer and the tone into the leather, and the lighter colors just add a little bit glimmer. So also good to keep in mind. And you can even heat it a little bit. So that is kind of pinkish toned brown, and that's a blue, rich blue glimmer in there. And if I go over it with my finger, well, a little bit of the glitter comes off, but not much. So depending on what you're using it, you might need to add some kind of light fixative on top. But if you just add it as a detail to a project that you're not going to be touching all the time, then you could leave it as it is. Also really interesting to see how that worked out. That was fun. Got to keep that in mind. Then we have this flower here. I'm just going to add some pink in there. And works well. Just need to lift these parts here to get the color everywhere. And this is, I'm going to be totally pink, blue and green when I'm done, but I don't mind. So I've got myself a really nice pink fabric flower. I don't know what to use that for yet, but it will find a spot. And I can always take it apart and use bits and pieces if I don't want to use this huge flower on its own. So you always need to be creative and improvise. Next we have, this is a cotton lace piece. I'll just put it here and add some shades of gold on top. And some pink here. Oh, love how the pink turns out. Really lovely. The bottles are almost empty, so it's a mess, but the results are still really beautiful. And since it's cotton, you can heat it and nothing happens, or just leave it to air dry. And you could just cut off pieces and use them on a project. And there's also a little bit shimmer in there, and a lighter tone, you get a different kind of result. And if I would add, I don't know, blue in there, would look totally different too. So that's the misted cotton lace piece. This is easy to do. You just place this sewing thread onto the working surface, add some color, and you will get a nice shade in there. Really easy. So if you want to use this on a mixed media piece, you can make all colors from just white sewing thread. You don't need many colors at all. You can always alter your white ones for any type of project and purpose. Then let's take this rope, the one that I showed you that I didn't know which type this is. I'm going to look it up and then I will add the name. And let's just cut off a little piece. So this is also a natural material. And I think I'm going to add some pink on it. Pink is almost empty, so let's use this up. Well, it goes in there, but it doesn't work that well. So might be that this type of rope is not meant for misting. Well, it gets a little bit shade, but since the bottle is also very empty, maybe if you add it directly like this and let it absorb on its own, you can get some shade in there. It might be better to use a paintbrush even. Oh yes, that works. So if you add a layer of color with a paintbrush, that would be an easier way to work this type of sturdy rope. So there's the color. Doesn't do much difference, but you can add some shading into that. Not my favorite so far, but in a way it works. And then I think we will need another paper towel underneath, or we just play and see what happens and take some risks, even if the fabrics get dirty, spotting them. And this is the synthetic fabric. You can also mist this one, even has some glitter and glimmer in there, so you could make a background or a cover, fabric cover for a junk journal, whatever, with this type of technique. Works really nice. This is from a shirt, the light blue tone, really nice, takes the color really nicely too, has a really nice shade in there. So all kinds of fabric scraps you have at home, feel free to alter them and change their color. This is a piece of cotton, thicker one, also works really nice with the pink tone. So I think I will have a lot of fabric scraps to use on my future projects this way. And then the flannel piece, I had this one flannel scrap lying around. Also works really nicely because it's a soft fabric, so the color really goes into the fabric, creates really nice results. Leave that to dry and show you the finished results when it's all dry. I had this red piece here, and let's add some gold on top. I just need to pick this up because the bottle is almost empty, so it sprays better if it's standing. So just adding some shading there, and I can cut a circle from this one and add it to an art journal or whatever. So all kinds of types of fabric scraps you can always test and try to mist them. And now I'm really interested to see what happens with the blue one. So I'm just going to cut a little scrap from here. And then let's add some green on it. I think we just get a shimmer, and then let's go over it with the blue one. I think that will be just a little bit shimmer and not much more happens there, but we will see what it looks like when it's all dry. So fabric does not react the same way, like if you take black paper, then you get these beautiful glimmer parts and shades in there. But of course fabric reacts in a different way, so you will not have that much results there. Piece of this Canvas Corporation's, I think this is fringe cotton, I think that's how they call it, but I will add the correct name when I edit this video. And you can give these pieces a really nice coloring with the Glimmer Mists and just let them dry. Turn out really beautiful. And then I think we're through almost all types of... We had this one piece here. Let's take that away and put another piece underneath to keep it quite a little bit cleaner. And I'm even leaving this here because if it gets some color it will only look interesting, and I can even use this tag for something. So I'm adding some green, really like this tone of green. So this will be a nice starting point for whatever I decide to make. And spring is coming, so I'm using a lot of green here. And since it's translucent, the Glimmer Mist, you can also see the nice chair pattern going on in there. It's not disappearing if you missed the fabric. So that's my starting point. And I don't mind if I didn't get an even coverage, because I can always go over the surface again and fix those parts that are lighter, or I can leave it like that to add a more interesting look of different shades of green on the background. So whatever you're aiming for, there's no right and wrong. You just, if you don't get the even coverage first time misting, then just go over it again and fix the parts that were lighter, or just leave it as it is, or add a second color here and here to add more interest. So just play with the material and see what happens. You never know what you might discover. That looks really lovely when it's misted. And then we have this fabric, sticky fabric strip, and I'm just going to cut just a little bit off from here if I get it out of the package, and find my scissors again and give that some shading. I think since it's orange, I'm just going to add a little bit gold on top to give it some glimmer and shimmer. See how that goes. It absorbs the spraying really nicely, so I might get some glimmer in there when it's totally dry, but I'm not going to overheat it because it has an adhesive on the back, and just leave that to dry and see how that reacts and how it looks like when it's all dry. And what else? We had a piece of cotton here in a creamy tone. Then we have this fun piece of flannel. Let's take just a little bit off from here. Then we still have this pink pocket piece. This is cotton, so we'll add some color to that. And then finally we have this adhesive. They have a chipboard in between, and then there's a canvas on top. So let me see if I can find the button to add this to the... Here it is. So I'm just going to place one here and give it some color, add some color to it, and then leave it to dry there because of the adhesive on the back, so that doesn't get damaged in the process. Okay, so that works really nicely. It gives a really saturated color, really nice tone, and then I could stamp on it or alter it in any other way, or just add it as it is into any type of papercraft project. And next, let's do this piece. So let's add some blue in there. You can still see the stripes, not that much, but you can see them. And some green. That will look lovely somewhere. I don't know where yet, but I will find a place for that one. Then there's this piece of cotton. These turn out really nice. So if you are looking for nice fabric to mist, then I suggest you look at the Canvas Corporation's online store. They have a lot of different shapes and patterns and flags and forms in there, so whatever you're looking for, you will find a lot of different types of fabric pieces in their store. And that gets also a really nice blend in there, so beautiful results, really beautiful. They know what they do with their fabric parts. They work really well with the Glimmer Mists. And then last but not least, I've got this pink pocket here, which I'm just going to add some shading onto. And the bottle is really empty, so I'm happy that I can finish this video before they are totally so there. That would be a cotton shirt pocket that I cut off and misted. And if I'm going to use just parts of this, we'll see. But you can add some color to those too. So I think we are through with this fabric experiment video. And finally, I still have this canvas bag here, and I think I'm just going to do a little trick here. I'm just going to add some paper towel inside the bag, because I don't want it to be covered all over. I'm just going to add a little bit of color somewhere around here. And I just need to lift it a little bit because the bottle is almost empty, as you can see. And then I'm just going to add some shade here. Some yellow, gold, shiny shade here. And then maybe go over it with some rub-ons or texture paste, or add some details with thread and rope and whatever, we'll see. But I'm just going to use this as my starting point. Just a little shade of gold and yellow going on there on the background. So you can alter this kind of canvas fabric bags the way you want to. And I know this is might not work, but just a tad of pink in there, here and there, for a fun detail. Then add some gold here and here, and we are almost empty, so not very pretty results, but it still works. So I think this might be a starting point for a Valentine's present bag or something like that. We'll see what I come up with. But you can also do this type of coloring with the Glimmer Mists on fabric materials. So this was just a basic video on different types of fabric I had at home. There might be even more fabric types you could add some misting on, some Glimmer Mist on. So you just cut a little piece of the fabric if possible and give it a try. There's nothing to lose. It will be interesting to see how that turns out, and it might result in something really beautiful. So that's that. That was all types of fabrics with the same tones of Glimmer Mists that I've used on my previous videos. And at the end of this video, again, you will see the finished dry products, how they turned out. So there will be the flags and the cotton pieces and the adhesive fabric pieces. So then I will add some some detailed photos at the end of this video when we are done. Oh, look how this would look really pretty in there. Maybe I'm going to make a few more and maybe do a pink flower in there. We'll see how that turns out, but it was fun, and you can definitely work with Glimmer Mists and fabrics together. They are a really nice match. Thanks for watching.